You're listening to The Power Project. I'm your host, Brandy Voth. I also like to think that I'm your guide along this journey of purpose, which is where you will hopefully end up at the end of this podcast. I'm a mom, a wife, a daughter, a friend, an entrepreneur, an advocate in the fight against human trafficking. I wear a lot of hats, y'all, but don't we all? And most importantly, I am passionate about inspiring women to go out and lead purpose-filled lives while owning your God-given power. I have this crazy belief that we are all better when we lift each other up, which is exactly why I created this platform to spotlight other women that are leading in ministry, business, and nonprofits in the hopes that you at home will be inspired by their stories to get up and take action in order to walk in purpose and own your God-given power. Without further ado, let's jump right in. Hey guys, welcome back to The Power Project. I have a guest on today that I really want to share this message with this audience. Now, I know that we have a few good dudes that tune in to the podcast, but primarily we're a platform by women for women. And I get really, really charged up over women not taking their responsibility of their finances or really acknowledging and developing a money mindset. I think it holds so many of us back. And so my guest today, Dufroux, she's a business mentor and a financial wingwoman, which you guys, if you don't have a business mentor or a financial wingwoman in your life, you need that. Coraline had me on her podcast and we were talking about sales and we were geeking out over how passionate we both are about making money and unapologetically selling what we believe in. And I just flipped the script and was like, I need you on my podcast because it is my sole passion to help women make money, manage money, retain money, build wealth. So, hey, Coraline, how are you?
Hello, g'day, all the way from Australia.
Yes, you guys, my audience knows that Australia has a sweet spot in my heart. It is, it's part of my business and it's part of my purpose. It's kind of the launch pad of where I began writing the book that I just released.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I have a soft spot for you guys. I love you Aussies. You're my people. And then especially when I find one of you that wants to like go all out and talk about business and sales. And I want you to share with this audience because my audience is a group of women that believes that they can create income and make an impact simultaneously. We're people that we believe that we can give back and do more and make an impact, but we're not going to apologize for making money along the way and teaching other people how to make money as well. So I want you to share your background, who you are, what you do, how you got here.
Awesome. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm so stoked to be here. Always love to have a fellow businesswoman in my back pocket and we can chat all things and nerd out, like you said, on all things business. So a little bit about me. I'm 34 and I have been in business since I was about 18. Now I've worked in my parents' business since I was 11. So I do have a little bit of background, I guess you could say, and maybe a little bit of a head start compared to others, but that doesn't mean that you can't start either. And we'll dive into that a bit shortly. So started a business in property, went with my ex-husband at the time, at the age of 18, and we became multimillionaires by the time we were 24.
Wow.
Through property investing. Yeah. Now it sounds all great. The truth is that looking back, I now know that whilst externally everything seemed really great, I had the relationship, we were traveling a lot, I had the money, I had a career. I was also in corporate. I was a HR manager for big companies. And so it looked like I had it all together. But the truth was that internally I was not happy. I also didn't believe that I deserved to be where I was. And so subconsciously, I lost all my money. I created situations where I lost all my money. And so by the time I was 27, my life was turned upside down, but it was turned upside down by myself, really. I was going through a divorce. I lost all my money. I was made redundant from a job. The industry was changing and I had to rebuild. Now, at the time, I wasn't cognizant of all of this that I'm sharing with you. All I was worried about was about, I have to rebuild again. This is not possible. My ego took a huge beating. I didn't want to tell anybody. I was, when I made my first millions at 24, I was super cocky. I thought, well, why the hell is everyone working till they're 60 or 70? I had a dream to retire when I was 30. And I thought, these people are crazy. Why are they working till they're that age? It's so easy. Obviously, I had taken a really big boom bull market at the same time. I didn't realize that at the time. I got lucky. Timing was great. So then I went on to rebuild. And then, would you believe it? I actually lost my millions. So I made millions again. And 5 years later, at the age of 32, I lost everything again. Now, I truly believe that we create absolutely everything in our life. And I know that I created both of those times that I lost millions. And so now I'm rebuilding a third time, but in a completely different way, in a way that I'm aligned with it. I'm doing things purely on my intuition because I ignored my intuition. My intuition led me. And now when I look back, I was like, it told me not to do that. It told me not to do this. And I did it because my ego and my mind overpowered my intuition. And I believe as women, our intuition is one of our, firstly, cheapest, but best mentor, coach, advice. Yes, you can get a mentor. Yes, you can, get a financial wing woman. I love being that for my people, but I always bring them back to their own intuition because it doesn't matter what I say. As long as they feel comfortable in their body and they feel aligned, then everything else will fall into place. And so now I'm rebuilding in a way that is exactly that. I take more naps. I don't answer emails straight away because, in the past I thought I was proactive. Whereas now I realize that taking time sometimes actually works in my favor because I have time to think. I have time to make a decision based on what I truly want rather than wanting something that is not mine and creating a life that is someone else's that I thought I wanted, which wasn't really what I wanted. And so the last 2 years has been really healing for me because I've really been looking back on my own life, not comparing myself to other people, but comparing who I am today to who I was 2, 3, 4, 10 years ago. So I don't know if that gives you a little bit of a synopsis.
It's so good. Like it's so good. And there are so many things that I want to unpack here. And I love what you said about my ego and my mind overpowered my intuition, because so often we can know what it is that we're supposed to do, that next step we're supposed to take. We can know when something doesn't feel in alignment with our journey and our purpose. But then we start thinking, what is someone else going to say? What is someone else going to think? What is someone else going to review it as? And like you said,
Yes.
we play these mind games and these tricks on ourselves that holds us where we are. So when you've realized, okay, so you've made, at the age of 27, you've made millions a couple of times, and then you've lost millions a couple of times. And then what do you feel like? I realized that we talked about the intuition. What was the one major key shift that you're taking now in your rebuilding process from the 27-year-old that lost the millions, the 32-year-old that lost the millions? What is 34-year-old Coraline doing? Number one key shift to ensure that you retain the wealth that you've built.
Such a good question. In my 20s, I was gung-ho. I was like, I'm 20, I'm invincible. I've got all the time in the world. You all. Sorry, I don't know if we can swear on this podcast, but I'm like, stuff everyone. I'm just like, I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it my way and I don't care. The thing is, I said that, but I never really did that. So I said that I, did it my way, but I really didn't. I was a scared little girl. I thought that I was this powerful person, but I really wasn't. And to answer your question, my birthday's in January. And this year, when I turned 34, I woke up on my birthday And I realized that I was, well, not quite yet in the middle when I'm 35, but I'm in the middle between my 20s. So I'm 15 years into my 20s and I'm 15 years away from being 50. And how the last 15 years went by so quickly. And I'm like, if not now, Coraline, if not now, then when are you going to give yourself permission? Because I've realized that my fear was not a failure. Most people's fear is a failure. I failed before. It didn't matter. My fear was of success. And so for the last, and even now I'm saying it and I'm riddled with goosebumps all over my body. And it's not until I've realized that, and I'm still unpacking it, I'm still in the process of why am I scared of success? Why does that look like, what does that look like for me? And the more that I dig in and the more that I take my time, I always talk to my audience and my people about playing the long game. In my 20s, I was like, I want the money now because I'm not going to do anything by the time I'm 30. I'm going to sit on the beach and I'm going to do nothing. The truth is, I love what I do. I'll be working till the day I die. But working looks different to me because I'm doing what I love and I'm doing it with people that I love. And so now that I've given myself this whole time, and now that I've realized that my fear was actually of success, or is still, I'm going to be honest, it's still there. I'm still working through it and unpacking it. But now I'm so much more open to it, cognizant of it. And so the difference is that I'm taking more time. And I'm like, if I can make millions once, if I can make it twice, then I can make it a third time. But let's do it differently. Let's take my time. And you know what? Let's have a bit of fun in there too. Because I thought I was having fun and I thought that I was enjoying my life. But the truth of the matter was I wasn't. I was scared, I was broken, and I was led by my ego.
Okay, so you're hitting on some things that I like to go deep on. And I teach, you and I discussed in the last episode, I teach a purposeful business course to women that have been formerly trafficked and sexually exploited that are walking through an aftercare home. So they sign up for it thinking that they are going to learn how to build a resume and they're going to learn how to, do a job interview. But what we have to do is this deep dive mindset coaching, overcoming limiting beliefs. And what we just unpacked, I did an episode 2 or 3 episodes ago about how the fear of success is what holds us in that cycle of failure. And so breaking that cycle of failure and walking into success. And one of them is something that you and I discussed in the preview that I would like to go into. It's that when we experience success, whatever it looks like, whether it's in business or it's in a transitional program or a change, making healthy changes in our life, whatever that success looks like for you, it comes with a new identity. Because in the past, you can say, oh, that's Coraline. She loses money. She's not good with retaining wealth, right? And that becomes real comfortable. But in this new place, in this new identity, no, now I'm a success. Now I haven't lost that money. I'm a new person. It looks like my friends have opinions, right? Maybe these people didn't come with me across the bridge. So talk a little about that if you can, and what it looks like to grow and level up when others around you aren't.
Yeah. So before we started recording, I was sharing with Brandy that one of the reasons I believe that I lost my millions is because I wasn't surrounding myself with the right people. And so I didn't have anyone that could allow me to break through the ceilings of where I was. And so to allow myself to not feel uncomfortable because of my fear of success, to allow myself to not feel as though I was losing everyone that I loved around me, I subconsciously, but intentionally, lost everything around me because it was easier. I knew my ceiling. I knew that I could build up to that level. And so now I'm taking my time and I'm conscious at what my level is. And I'm, nearly back there now, 2 years later. So now I'm just being really smart and taking things very slowly to break those ceilings and to surround myself with different people. Now, I'm not saying that I'm letting people go because I truly believe, people in your life reason, season, lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're supposed to be here for a lifetime, they will be, and our interactions will change and will evolve. And I don't need to call them up and say, I don't want to be your friend anymore. It will naturally happen. I think a lot of people think that's what happens. So I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, for me now, it's being very intentional about, firstly, really understanding myself, because I can't control anyone else. I can't control my environment. I can't do anything for other people. The only person that I know wholeheartedly is myself. The only things that I can do and control are within myself. And so when I shift myself, when I shift my perspective, when I understand myself more than I understand anything else in the world, then my world will shift along with me. And I won't even have to go looking. I will attract the people that I'm meant to attract to help me shoot through that ceiling. And at the moment, I'm just going after I'm just breaking through so many ceilings at a pace that I didn't realize was even possible. Who I am today is not who I was on my 34th birthday in January. And I'm attracting such incredible people. And now I see that when new energies or new people come into my life that are not aligned with the new level that I'm at, I see that it's the old Coraline trying to hold on. And I'm very cognizant now of the different energies. I also always, and I know this sounds pretty, you can take it the wrong way, but for me, I always want to be the dumbest person in the room.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Always. And for so long, especially my 20s, I wasn't. And that was my ego. My ego wanted to be stroked, my ego. But the thing is, it kept me there, and that's why I lost it. So I hope that answers your question.
No, it totally does. It totally speaks to surrounding yourself with people that can grow with you, and not lowering your level or slowing your hustle down or like making your dreams smaller for other people. But I think it's important that you can realize that people have the opportunity to grow with you. And if they choose not to grow with you, you can love them where they're at. Like you're saying, you don't have to cut them out, but continue to bring people in that are going to push you and encourage you and inspire you to reach for more, to constantly be growing and being the best impact that you can be on this planet for the time that you're given. So it totally speaks to that. And if you're at home and you're listening to this, I want you to realize this is a really crucial piece of developing a money mindset, is that those people that don't want to grow with you don't have to be your anchors. They can be your roots, but you can keep growing and branching out into others that are going to help lift you up. So I think that's solid. The other thing I wanted to discuss here is that you briefly touched, you told me earlier the whole background, but you briefly touched on your parents being immigrants and being French and making Tahitian clothing line. And you said that's where you started working with them around the age of 11. And like your dad was an OG, knocking door to door, cold calling on people. What do you feel like? First, do you feel like your parents were your first business mentors, or do you see someone else as your first business mentor?
Definitely my parents, yeah.
Yeah.
And I can see now that the tables have flipped. And so I have a business with my dad. And the tables have turned. And so now, we both do coaching with a mentor, and we catch each other out. But, even some of the old stories I'm seeing myself carry through from my parents. I'm like, hang on, that's not my story. And so I have to catch my dad out and say, hey, this is your belief. And I truly believe that it's holding us back in the business right now. We need to work on that because I'm carrying it. And sometimes having that family dynamic, it's so easy for us to get stuck, especially that intergeneration. And so for me, I'm very, very big on making sure that I'm not carrying that through. So just to give you some background, my parents, as Brandy mentioned, they're French, but they both come from farming families. And as we know, farming families, you work hard. If you don't work hard, you don't you don't put food on the table. And so my parents are very hard workers. And it's something that, I'm a recovering workaholic. because that's what was presented to me. And I'm really leaning into being rich and being rested and not having to have burnout, like what you spoke about. And so that's something that my dad and I, well, that I'm working with my dad, so that I can be like, hey, we can reach bigger heights in our business together. And I know you love working because it gives you a distraction, and you genuinely love it, and he can see it for the future of the family. But I'm like, how about, even last night I sent him a text. I said, okay, well, COVID's COVID, and we lost 60% of our business through COVID. But I said, how about we go back to taking 7 days off every month? Because the more rested we are, the better we can show up for our team, for our clients. And for him, when I presented that 18 months ago, he really struggled with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's that, definitely they were my first mentors, and now the tables have turned a little bit, and it's just this beautiful relationship, and we're really open with each other, and we don't take things personally. And I know that's the reason why the partnership is so successful.
Hey guys, if you've considered starting a podcast, but you're overwhelmed by how to actually launch, I've created a basics of podcasting course over on Skillshare. So you can sign up for my course and get 2 months of free premium membership. Skillshare is where I learn all types of skills that I don't know how to do otherwise. I'll include the link in the show notes. You can head over to Skillshare and search Brandy Voth's class, The Basics of Podcasting. So I think it's a really key piece, whether you are working with a parent, which I see this so often. I see the struggle of passing the torch to the next generation, the issues of, this is the business I've built and I've established, and I've poured my blood, sweat, and tears in, and now my kid's telling me there's a different way we should do it, right? But whether it's that, or it is working with a spouse, or any type of partnership, I think that you have to be open to evolution, right? Because nothing is going to keep going the same way forever. And right now in this current economic climate, it's super important to listen to the voices that have ownership in your business if you are in any type of partnerships. And my husband and I are struggling with this because we have businesses that we're having to completely rethink and restructure right now. And we have things that he's been in the industry, many more years before I did, but yet I'm overdoing new innovative approaches to marketing and sales and business that he's having to be open to, for us to look at how do we evolve with this. So I think that's really important, and finding the way to communicate that without taking anything away from the hard work that your dad has put in the past. I have to do the same thing. I mean, literally, we had this conversation last night, and we're both very much the people that are like, well, I'm going to do it my way. And so when either of us say anything about, the other's business approach, we have to do it in a gingerly way. But when you have a sounding board like that, and when you can talk and figure out what does the overall best move for this company look like, it's really important. What is so obviously we've discussed you're teaching your dad some things right now. You're kind of like making some suggestions that he doesn't really want to, swallow, but he's chewing on it and he's deciding, okay, I guess we're going to take 7 days off. What is the number one thing that you believe you learned that from watching your parents in business, the number one thing that you learned from them that has most impacted your business mindset, money mindset, building a business, the one thing?
I can think of two, if
perfect.
I'm allowed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Courage. Have the courage to start. Have the courage to stand up and give it a go so you don't have any regrets. And the second is never, ever give up. Even if it means you have to close a business down, that doesn't mean that you've given up. That's actually that's courage to make the decision that that's no longer working, and let's go into a different direction. So those are definitely the two things for me. I find myself, people always say to me, I don't know how you do it. How do you keep getting back up? And I'm like, well, I don't know. It's just normal to me. I don't even think about it. How do I get motivated every day to get out of bed when things are bad? well, I don't know. It's true that the two times that I lost money, there was not one day, and I'm not even exaggerating, there was not one day where I laid in bed and felt sorry for myself. Every day I got up and I kept going, and I created new opportunities and I created new businesses. Now, in saying that, that was me being super stubborn and not resting. So I did get burnout, but that was my ego being like, this, I'm not, I'm not giving up and I've lost everything, but I'm still me. And so there's definitely elements of that I look back and I'm like, I probably should have taken some time out. I probably should have gone overseas and just chilled for a bit. But those are the two things that my parents instilled in me, is courage and never giving up.
And I think that those two things from you watching them as a kid, like in the 80s, are so completely applicable to right now where we're at, because people you have two options right now. You can sit back, cross your fingers, and hope that everything goes back to normal. Or you can realize that we are never going back to the normal that we knew. And you're going to have the courage to evolve, to pivot, to make some adjustments, to change your business structure, to change your customers, whatever it takes. And you have to be willing to literally like stand back up and don't give up. And I preach this so much, and I'm so thankful that someone else has said this on this show. The difference between successful people and non-successful people is the willingness to keep getting back up. It's not that we don't fail. It's not that we don't lose money. It's not that we don't close businesses. It's that we learn from those failures and we stand up and we get up and we keep going. It would be way easy for me to go lay on a beach and put my head in the sand right now and be like,
totally.
Sure hope 2021 looks a lot better than 2020.
Yeah. And, I think it's so important for us to realize too that we look at someone's right now. So let's say in 10 years time, and, I've got 500 million because I will be, and I will have, and someone will be like, oh, it's so easy for her. And we forget what it takes. It's like when an Olympian gets gold medal and we're like, oh, well, good on them, like, well, hang on, how much time did they invest? Every day getting up at 4 a.m., training for 3 hours in the morning, training 3 hours at night, going through injuries. The other person that I can refer to is Susie Batiste, who is an American. The owner of Poo-Pourri, bankrupt twice. And now she is a multimillionaire, has got several businesses. Don't look at her right now. Look at the entirety of where she's been, what she overcame, how she kept going, and where she is now. So let's not either compare ourselves or just look at how lucky someone is from that snippet that you're looking at.
I've heard it said before, and I'll say it again. I don't know who the original quote came from, but don't compare your beginning or your middle to someone else's end, right?
Yes.
And that's so good. It's such a golden nugget, because I think that there may be people here today that listen to this episode, and we didn't totally unpack your whole business journey, but they may look at it and say it's easy for her to say. She has a family business. Like, she talks about making her millions. She's had a family business. What do you want people to most know about your journey?
What I want people to know is two things. The first thing is, when I purchased my parents' business, it was negative 13% in the net margin. So there was no margin. The net margin was negative 13%. And so it's taken me 4 years to break it apart and put it back together. And now we're finally making money. So I didn't take an income for 4 years. And so, sometimes these things happen. And when you see that people come from either parents that have had businesses, I can tell you that my parents are small business owners, small thinking. I love them, but I see that now. They see that now. So, yes, I took nuggets out of that. Also, when you see someone else who has taken over a family business, it doesn't mean it's doing well. It doesn't mean that everything is streamlined. Like Brandy said before, you've got to take all of the good that come with the bad. There's polarities in everything in life. So there's the dynamics. Yes, they might have a thriving balance sheet and a P&L statement, but what are the relationships like in the business that have to be worked through? So there's, don't always just look at one side, look at all sides. And the second thing about my business journey is that I have been in multiple industries, very much like you actually, Brandy. And I love that. I think the multifaceted aspect that I bring to business allows me to be a better business mentor, allows me to give people all sides. I have a group coaching that's called the Wealth Club, and every month we talk about what it's like to build wealth. And we, so many of us are not financially literate. So we really break it down. We look kind of like what you shared in the episode that we recorded together for my podcast, getting it down to the detail. What does it look like to do? What's a P&L? Some people don't even know what that is. How do you look at your personal wealth compared to your business wealth? They're different. They're not combined. And so we really look at the foundations. And for me, it's about teaching people how to fish. I don't want to give you the fish. And the more people that I can influence and help set stronger foundations, whether it be for personal or business wealth, I'm a happy girl. I'm a happy girl because I know that we become more of who we are when we have more money. We have this perception that people with money are bad people. Especially at the moment in this environment, we look at people like Trump and Gates and we think, well, billionaires are... Sorry, I can't think of another word. Us Aussies, we love swearing. And so sorry, our American friends, but billionaires don't have to be bad people. Multimillionaires don't have to be bad people. Money accentuates more of who you are. And so there's so many good people out there. I want to help more good people get more money because more people with money in their hands will do better for the world. And we also know through statistics, through research, through case studies, that women with money impact more communities. When men have more money, they keep money for themselves and there's less impact on communities. I'm not bagging out men. It's just a fact and it is statistics. When women have money in their pockets, communities benefit more than when men do. So that's the impact that I want to have on the world.
I'm like writing as fast as my pen can go because you landed it. Like you brought the whole idea behind the money mindset and developing a money mindset that I wanted to discuss today. And you just landed it. And you said, when women have money, they impact more communities than men ever will. And that is huge, ladies. Like you want to build a nonprofit, that's great. But guess what? If you can build a social enterprise that creates wealth and income that you can pour back into a business and not be just dependent upon donations, that might be even a better fit for you. So you can be like kingdom minded and think about wanting to do all the big things and make all the impacts in the world, but money makes the world go round. So if you can learn to develop a money mindset and then apply that to impact, make an income while making an impact, like how much more beautiful is this world? We need more female millionaires making an impact in the world. So I love what you are doing. You guys need to go check out the Wealth Club. I will post links in all the show notes. Tell us where people can find you, connect with you, work with you, everything.
Thank you, Brandy. So you can find me on Instagram and Facebook, Coraline Dufroux. It is a tongue twister. Brandy will put it in the show notes so you can spell it properly, but just think of Caroline with the O and the A just flipped around the other way. So I'll be on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, depending on where you listen. And my podcast is called Keep the Change. So head on over there and listen to the episode that Brandy and I also recorded together, which was so much fun.
Awesome. And they need to go ahead and give you a 5-star rating and leave a review because you guys, if you don't know, like the ratings and the reviews is what keeps us podcasters going and producing content week in and week out. Thank you so much. I know it is, it's morning in Australia. You got to go get yourself like a big brekkie and
thank you.
And a
it's
long
been
black.
So fun.
And I'm going to go make some dinner. So I appreciate the time that you have come and shared with our audience. I look forward to getting to know you better in the future.
Thanks, Brandy.
If you enjoyed this conversation, do me a favor, head over to iTunes, write a review, give us a rating. We'll take 5 stars if you're feeling generous, and tell all your friends about us. By the way, have you picked up the Power Project book yet? Because it's out in the world and you're going to hear all about my personal creation of the Power Hat Company. Speaking of the Power Hat Company, have you gotten a hat pre-ordered yet? So you can get the book at thepowerprojectbook.com and you can check out the hats over at thepowerhatco.com. I can't wait to chat with you next week, but until then, go out and live your best purpose-filled lives.